What's going on, everybody? In this video I'm going to show you how you can export data from Excel into MATLAB. Let's get started. So in this or in a previous video I generated a toy data set in Excel where we had one column that was voltage, we had one column that was current, and we had one column that was resistance, and in the resistance column we just had one value, 2.2. And so I have some voltage, I have some column headers, that is. So I have to be aware of those. Those are strings, and then I have numerical data, and then I have some, the empty character. I have some missing data in column 3. So we're going to see how MATLAB can handle that. So let's take a look at MATLAB, and you have a couple choices when you get to MATLAB. The first thing that you could do, if you wanted, you could say you could save your Excel file as a CSV file, as we've talked about already, and then you could say data equals CSV read, and then give it the test file. So, give it your CSV file. So mine is called test file, and you'll want to make sure that your test file.csv is in the same directory. So my working directory here is the desktop, and that's where I've chosen to store test file.csv. Now I'm going to actually get an error when I do this, and I want to demonstrate this to you. Alright, so I get an error that there's a mismatch between file and format character vector. And the reason is because CSV read only reads in numerical data. So it's having a problem with the headers, the column header, or the column headers there. But if I bring up the documentation, so I go help CSV read, you will see that I can give it a row and column. So read the data from the CSV formatted file starting at row R and column C, and R and C are 0 based, so that R equals 0 and C equals 0 specifies the first value. So what I'm going to do here, one option that I have available to me, is to specify to remove those column headers. So I will start at row 1, column 0. And because row 0, then because this is 0 based, row 0 would be the column headers. So let me see if I can do that, and I can. And now I'll echo back data, and you'll see data. I've got all the numerical data, 0, 0, then 2.2, and then all the voltages, all of the currents, and then notice it replaced the empty string over here in column C with just zeros. So that works, but it's a workaround. I don't get the file, or I don't get the column header names this way. Now another option I have is using the XLS read command. So what I can do here is type, just notice if I type help XLS read, and this may or may not work on a Mac. I think it does now, but if you're having a hard time on a Mac, try it on a PC. But you'll see that XLS read takes in the file, and then it outputs three things: the numerical data, the text data, and the raw data. So we'll just keep that in mind. All right, so I'm going to ask for those three things: the numerical data, the text data, and the raw data. And I'll say equals XLS read, and then I'll give it the file name test file dot, now not the CSV file, but the XLSX file in this case. And again, that XLSX file is in my current working directory. There it is. I have it saved as both a CSV and an Excel native file. Put the semicolon there, and it takes a little bit of time, but not bad. Now let's look at the numerical data. Right, there's the numerical data, and you'll notice the empty characters were replaced by nans, which means not a number. All right, so we would have to be aware of that if we were loading this in to do some sort of data analysis. Let's look at the text data, and the text data is actually contained in a cell array, which is a little bit different than a numerical array that we've been using. But it works in a similar fashion, but the cell arrays are usually used to contain strings. So you'll see that it is containing our strings, the voltage header, the current header, and the resistance header. And now let's look at the raw data. The raw data will also be a cell array. It's a 12 by 3 because that is the size of my data set. So you'll see that the raw captures everything, the headers as well as the data, but the data are also contained in these curly brackets, so they're contained in the cell array as well. All right, the third option that you have is probably the best option. It's the newest option to MATLAB, and that is read table. So I'm going to say data equals read table, and then give it my test file. Does that mean capital T? Let's see, data, yeah, read table. There it is. And I'm going to give it my test file, and I think I could give it the CSV or the Excel file. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to keep it simple with the CSV. Let's see what we get. Okay, it gives me a warning. Some of the variables were modified. All right, well, let's look at the table. Now, the data is a type table, which we didn't really talk about, but you can access the data in a similar fashion, like data 1,1 gives you the this value here. Table data of 1,3 would give you the 2.2. Row 1, column 3 would give you the 2.2. But you notice this table data type is giving us some nice column headers, right? It recognized our column headers from the CSV file, which is nice, and then it arranges it in a nice fashion. Now the warning that we got here, I think variable names were modified to make them MATLAB identifiers. So I think that is this case here. We put the units with square brackets around them, and MATLAB does not like that, and so it converted those square brackets to underscores to make them identifiable by MATLAB. Also notice that the read table command also turned our empty strings into nans, not a number. But so those are three options that you have. You can read CSV, you can read table, or you can read XLS. Thank you.